All right, well, let's shift to one of our last topics here, which is the fetal tissue debate in Madison, and we'll start with Jason again on this because he's written several of the stories about it. First, could you just set the table for us, Jason? Why is this debate coming up, and where do you sort of see it going in the short term?
Sure. You've had some controversial videos about Planned Parenthood officials in California discussing the transfers of fetal tissues for research. And that has actually given a lot of momentum to a bill in the state legislature that for 6 years now it failed in 2 previous sessions, but now it's clearly got a lot of momentum and it's going to pass in some form. The way things look right now, it's looking that it will allow most research involving fetal tissue to continue, but in Wisconsin, but that there will be at least some research at UW-Madison that involves fetal tissue that will be a felony going forward and will be banned in the state.
Yeah, well, let's talk. When we talked about this a week or two ago, we said well, the immediate response was, "Oh, this doesn't happen here in terms of the selling of tissues or even the donating from the Planned Parenthood, facilities here." But this is a big issue at UW-Madison. They're home to stem cell research. Many millions of dollars come in based on this research. Where do you guys see this going? Dee?
Well, it's a tough one for Walker because, of course, he's always said Wisconsin's open for business, and what we're talking about is tens of millions of research dollars that come into the UW-Madison and possibly other locations that, in fact, use these type of tissues in their research. And so the question is, are you going to draw a hard line and say, I don't really care what happens with these research dollars, I have this moral objection to the use of these tissues, or do you take a more pragmatic approach? And I think right now, especially as he's trying to get these early primary voters who are very conservative, it's a tough issue for him, I think.
What he's declined to state his position on it, and so it's something that he's not comfortable with it. And it's interesting, for someone who's considered very decisive and who portrays himself as a decisive person, there are a number of issues like this that stack up where he doesn't come forward with a proposal. It becomes a big issue, and he initially is reluctant to stay a position. There was right to work, same-sex marriage, where he refused to state his position before, and the 20-month abortion bill, the 20-week abortion bill. I'm assuming, his focus is not so much on, you were explaining it as a policy decision. I don't think it's so much a policy decision. It's a political decision for him right now. He's in the middle of a presidential campaign, but at the same time, he doesn't want to have businesses saying that they are going to leave as a result of this.
Jason, let me ask you this point, because some of these other ones, like the 20-week abortion ban and things, they've come up and they've had strong support and pretty readily passed. Do you see any reason that this one would be different in terms of, are there Republicans who are saying they can't support this the way it's written, or that it needs to be drawn up differently?
Sure. I think that he's clearly going to support the overall bill. Like most Republicans, the governor is very concerned about the videos and has a long time, pro-life stance. So, and he said obviously that he's supportive of doing something. I mean, where he has really been reluctant to talk about is obviously this narrower issue of medical research, of what is better to do, allow this research into things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's to continue, or to, ban it. I think the practical effect of that is that it takes an issue that on its face, or a largest level, has a lot of support for banning that sort of fetal tissue transfers, and it muddies it up, because some people will obviously want to see medical research that could save lives continue.
All right, we're going to shift now to our viewer questions, and there's actually one that just came in on this topic, so we're going to take a closer look at it. This is from Dennis, who says, how does the legislature intend to support stem cell research in light of their intent to ban fetal tissue use? It's clear to this point that science or any advancement of knowledge is opposed by this legislature. Dan, do you see a way that they can sort of carve this out where they can get their
what they're trying to do now, and Jason would probably know better than I would, that they're setting up this line saying any tissue they received before 2010, is that right? Jason?
That's right.
That they would be allowed to use that, but nothing since 2010. Again, I mean, that's a compromise that they're trying to work with, but the medical community doesn't seem very happy with that.
And I will say that when Walker was first elected, there was some concern, I think, among scientific researchers that he would wade into the stem cell issue when he was first elected, and he just very much stayed away from that. It became a non-issue when he was elected.
Yeah.